Hey everybody, Jeff Schneider here. In today's video, we're going to talk about cadential diminished chords, how to walk a bass line on the piano, and we're going to do a reharm of Happy Birthday. Let's check it out. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about cadential diminished chords. What are they? Well, the word cadential comes from the word cadence, which is how you get from point A to point B, or really how you get from, for example, a 5 chord to a 1 chord. That's called a cadence, how you resolve to a particular chord. Now, the cadential diminished chord works within a cadence in a way. It's almost like it delays the cadence. It's the best way to think about it. Let's go to an example here that you hear this cadential diminished chord often in the song Misty. So most often you hear the beginning of Misty like this. Right? Now, if you do the cadential diminished, you're going to delay this 1 chord right here by inserting a diminished chord. So instead of E flat major 7, we're going to do E flat diminished major 7, and then it will finally resolve up to the major 7. So altogether it sounds like this. And you can hear how that subtle delay, that tension right there, resolves so nicely to the 1 chord finally, that true E flat major 7. So you're going from an E flat diminished major 7 to E flat major 7. Another tune that uses the cadential diminished chord is Billy Strayhorn's Upper Manhattan Medical Group, also referred to as UMMG. So I'm going to play the part that just features that cadential diminished chord. Check this out. So this part right here, this little repeated section, that is the D flat diminished followed by the D flat 6. Now, yes, I'm playing this A here on the D flat diminished, but that's a common device where you play a note that is a whole step above one of the regular notes that you'd find in a diminished chord. So a quick side note.
And now it's time for a side note.
If you want to embellish your diminished chords, you can always play any note a whole step above the regular notes in the diminished chord. So if you have D flat diminished, you could play any note that's a whole step above these notes. So you could play the E flat, you could play the F sharp, you could play the A, you could play the C. Oh, wait a minute, what's that? It's the whole half diminished scale. So it's no wonder that playing any note a whole step above the regular notes in a diminished chord actually sounds pretty good, because what that does is make up the diminished scale. So if you're just getting started with the cadential diminished chord, I would recommend just playing around with that Misty idea there where you have the major 7 in the melody, and that gives you a nice opportunity to utilize that chord. So again, with Misty, you had D on top of the E flat major 7, and just make that E flat major 7 an E flat diminished major 7. And then you can resolve it and get that nice delayed resolution. So let's switch topics now. I want to talk about walking bass lines on the piano. This is really, really important, especially if you're going to be playing in duo settings, if you're accompanying a vocalist. A lot of people are asking me about how to walk a bass line on the piano. So without getting into too many different variations, we're going to start real basic here and then build up from there. So the first thing I'd like you to try is just to get used to the quarter note, because if you've ever heard a walking bass line, you know that the quarter note pulse is of the utmost importance. So let's take a 2-5-1 chord progression in the key of C major just to keep things real simple. We're going to do a chord per bar, so it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Basic 2-5-1, right? Now, we're going to switch that held out note to a quarter note for each pulse there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and so on. So pick a tune and just go through it like that. Just be able to play quarter notes on the roots. Again, this is a very basic place to start, yes, but we're going to start to embellish and expand from there. So once you're comfortable with the roots and playing that quarter note feel in the left hand, you can even start to do some stuff in the right hand too. Maybe playing some simple shell voicings just to get started with that hand independence. So maybe you pick a rhythm in the right hand like this is what it sounds like with both together. I'm keeping the variables to a minimum here, just so you can get the independence, the independence between your hands working well. Now, once you feel confident about that, the next most important note that you want to start playing around with is the fifth of each chord. So once you have the roots down, start incorporating the fifth. So instead of just repeating the same note over and over again, we're going to do the root for 2 beats and then the fifth for 2 beats. So on the D minor, it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. D is the root, A is the fifth, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 for the G, and then finally 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. With the right hand, it sounds like this. Not so repetitive now. Okay, so for the next step, we're going to add another layer of complexity here, another option for your left hand to make things sound even more interesting. And this new note is going to be the chromatic passing tone. On second thought, it's probably better to think of this as a chromatic approach tone versus a chromatic passing tone. Just keep that in mind. And just to keep things real simple, as we increase the complexity here, we're only going to be using notes that are a half step above the note you are going to. Let me repeat that. The half step above the note you're going to. So if you're going to, let's see, we're starting on D, and then we're going to G. What is the half step above G? A flat. And we're going to do this chromatic passing tone on the fourth beat, the beat that precedes the chord that we're going to. So it should sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So did you see what I did there? When I went to the G, I did the A flat right before. And then when I went to the C, I did D flat going to C. We're going to put it all together again. Check this out. Cool. Now let's incorporate the fifths back into that, get even more variation. That's a great place to stop, actually. You can do so much with just those variables and options. Of course, when it comes to those chromatic passing tones, instead of doing the note that's a half step above the target note, you could always do the half step below. That's a great way to switch things up as well. But just take those parameters there, just take those variables and go through some tunes that you know, some standards, and see if you can just play the bass lines with your left hand. And then once you feel comfortable, add that right hand in there. You can always calibrate the level of complexity. We talked about many different levels of difficulty within this this approach. So just do what's right for you and gradually progress into the next level. All right, let's finish up this video with that reharm of Happy Birthday that I was talking about. I'll play it for you first, and then I'll break it down. Okay, there you go. It's got some simple stuff, some more advanced stuff. So let's take a closer look now to see what's going on here harmonically. We're in the key of C major and we're starting on the 5 chord, the G9. And then as soon as we go to the G in the melody, we're gonna play a G flat 13 flat 9 chord. And then we're gonna use that same voicing up a fourth to go to the B 13 flat 9 chord and then resolve that to E major 7. So it's a pretty, not standard 2-5-1, but it is a 2-5-1 going to E there. So altogether it sounds like this. Now I did say G flat 13 flat 9 there before. I would actually call it F sharp 13 flat 9 just because we're going to E, so let's call it F sharp. So F sharp, B, E. Now from there, the E major 7, we're gonna turn it into an E minor 7, go to E flat 7 to D minor. So that's a pretty traditional chord progression there. E, E flat, D. The E flat 7 acts as a tritone substitution for A7, which would be the 5 of D. So usually you'd have like a 2-5-1, but we're just doing 2 tritone sub of that 5 and then followed by the D minor. So Then we're going to a 5 chord basic there. And then we're going to go from a G over F to a C over E. I love that chord progression. That's just such a nice resolution there. And we're going to take the same chord and move it up a 4th. So now we have F over A. And I've added in this major 7 there. If you want some extra color, you can definitely do that. From there, well, let's do a quick recap. So we have the okay, now things are going to get a little crazy. We're going to go A flat major 7 to E flat over D flat. And then we're going to use this same voicing going down to accommodate each note in the melody. So we have the E flat over D flat, C over B flat, A flat over G flat, and that resolves so nicely to the G over F, which is, I believe, the original chord from Happy Birthday, because then we go to F sharp diminished 7, which is definitely from the original version of Happy Birthday. So again, that progression sounds like this. And that's going to resolve up to F over G, nice classic chord, C over G, F major, G major, C with an added 9. So yes, the end of that progression is a little bit more on the basic side, but that was just to balance out all the nuttiness that happened just previously. So I'll play the whole thing once more so you can hear it all together. Here we go. All right, so there you go. That's the reharm of Happy Birthday. We talked about a bunch of stuff today. We talked about walking bass lines. We talked about cadential diminished chords. We talked about reharms. So if you liked what you saw, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want even more content, that sometimes I'm writing blog posts and pushing out additional videos, make sure to go to the link at the end of this video to sign up for the newsletter, where I put out a whole bunch more musical truth nuggets, as I like to call them. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.